What is up, my friends? Thank you all for joining me today. Today, man, hope you're all doing tremendous because I know I'm doing pretty damn good. The past several days, I've been doing a lot of research and studying and looking into our biological systems and our anatomical systems, trying to piece together and see where retention might fall into place within the realm of science. Because I know with my channel, I go over a lot of metaphysical or spiritual stuff. Don't really talk a whole lot about science. So I was thinking the other day it would be interesting to, kind of dive in and look what I could find. So I'm going to start off talking about the pituitary gland, which is a part of the endocrine system, which will eventually take me into talking about the nervous system a little bit. And towards the end, I will even be getting into some juicier stuff about like the pineal gland and such other things. So man, let's get right into the video. All right, guys, so let's get right into this. So I'm sure many of you guys are a bit rusty on your biology, and if so, I'll help you out. Let's go over this real quick. The nervous system is essentially the major controlling, regulatory, and communicating system within our body. This is pretty much the center of all mental activity, including thought, learning, and memory. The endocrine system is a complex network of glands and organs. It essentially uses hormones to control a lot of our body's functions, whether that be metabolism, energy level, reproduction, growth, and so on. And these two systems work in unison in order to promote homeostasis. And what homeostasis is pretty much the state of being in equilibrium, which is essentially your body being in a state of balance. Now here we got the pituitary gland. This is one of the two glands in your brain next to the pineal gland. It is directly attached to the hypothalamus, which is pretty much the connection between the endocrine and the nervous systems. But before I go any further, there are 9 hormones that are created by the pituitary gland. And 2 I want to bring up right now is the follicle stimulating hormone, which stimulates sperm production in the testes. And the other is the luteinizing hormone, which stimulates the secretion of testosterone in the testes. So here we have the study, which I'm sure plenty of you have seen by now. I'm sure, though, plenty of you also have not seen this yet. But to give a brief summary of it, the point of the study was to understand the relationship between ejaculation and testosterone levels in men. There were 28 volunteers in the study. The time frame I couldn't find was that clear. I don't know what really 2 phases means. I tried looking it up. I couldn't really find anything solid. So maybe someone has some answers in the comment section. I'll leave the link to this down below in the description if y'all want to look at it. But yeah, so the results of this was that on the 7th day, there was an increase in testosterone by 145.7% of the baseline. Then it went back to normal. But here they're saying that there is no fluctuation that was observed afterwards, and we have no clue how long they even did the study for. Might have been 2 weeks, might have been 3 weeks. But who knows? Maybe you have another peak in a month. Who knows? And I'm sure it's different too, depending on how long the person was retaining before ejaculation. And there's probably just so many other variables to this. And this is really the only study that has been done. But if you really look at it objectively, this is scientific evidence that retention does play a role on testosterone production. And it isn't clear on to what degree after 7 days, but this can be used as evidence showing the link between retention affecting your endocrine system to a certain degree, which can leave the door open to many different possibilities. So what does this have to do with the pituitary gland, you may ask? Well, as I said earlier, it does create 2 hormones that stimulate sperm and test production in the testes. But if you aren't releasing your sperm and you are getting a testosterone boost from that, your pituitary gland isn't going to have to release these hormones as frequently. And that might leave some doors open for the pituitary gland to start focusing on some other areas of the body, like the immune system, for example. There's always been this claim, especially by the yogis and the people who have known about retention for just centuries and millennia, that it will boost your immune system, that it will prevent disease or illness. But of course, this is all just hypothesis on the scientific side. Really, all we have to go on right now is our own experience, other than that study I showed earlier. But we do know within the endocrine system that there are many different interactions between the hormones, that they all have different varying relationships. Like, for example, if you have high cortisol levels, you will have lower test. But if you have an increase in test, that does not necessarily mean that your cortisol levels will be reduced. So there is a very weird relationship between all of these different hormones and how they all interact between each other in your body. So the whole point I'm trying to make is that the pituitary gland plays a huge role in maintaining homeostasis in your body, and it is to my belief that retention helps it do so. But onto the next slide. The pituitary gland is part of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or the HPA axis. This is one of the most, or arguably the most important function in your body that helps your immune and nervous system communicate. It regulates digestion, immune system response, mood, emotions, sexuality, energy storage, and expenditure. The HPA axis is more so the companion to the sympathetic nervous system, and I'm sure plenty of you guys have heard about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system a lot if you watch a lot of content or read a lot of stuff within the conscious community. And if you haven't, essentially, these two parts of the nervous system, they are a part of the autonomic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system, this is behind the fight or flight response. And the parasympathetic nervous system, this restores the body to a state of calmness, and this pretty much promotes homeostasis within your body. So it is very important that you get out of your sympathetic nervous system when you do not need to, because it is important to be in that state during certain experiences or situations. Like, let's say you are driving and someone pulls out in front of you. Hopefully you don't get hit, but in that instant you are going to be acting within your sympathetic nervous system. But if you're just going throughout your day and you don't really need to be feeling that fight or flight response, it is not good. A lot of things can promote you being in your parasympathetic nervous system. A lot of people will talk about breath work or meditation, but it is also to my belief that retention will help keep you in your parasympathetic nervous system throughout your day. Because I know I hear a lot, and I have experienced this as well, that when you are on retention, you experience a significant less amount of anxiety. And I believe there is a reason behind this. If you just think, if your pituitary gland isn't constantly producing hormones to signal testosterone production and sperm production, it just seems to me that it will be freed up to do many other things. And that just might promote homeostasis within your body that much easier and will help keep you out of that sympathetic nervous system. But of course, man, as I said earlier, all this scientific portion of this is all hypothesis. So don't come barking at me in the comment section saying stuff like, "Oh, Nick, this isn't scientific. None of this is proven. This is all just stupid theory." Well, man, my answer to you is maybe you're just a little intimidated by somebody using their brain. And really, I don't think there's anybody like that watching this video that isn't open-minded and can think for themselves. And I don't even need to defend myself. I just thought it was pretty funny to include that. But man, if so, I really don't care what you have to say. Drop a comment, do whatever you want. But onward to the juicy stuff, man. What I really wanted to talk about this video. Now we will start to talk about the pineal gland. Now, I'm sure the vast majority of you guys are familiar with the pineal gland if you are watching a retention video. But in case you are not, it is a tiny little gland in the middle of our brain. And according to science, we don't know a whole lot about it. And all we really know is that it produces melatonin and I guess synthesizes serotonin as well. and it uses the serotonin to produce the melatonin. And I honestly did not know that the pineal gland produced melatonin. I thought that was pretty interesting because you have these two very important, I guess, substances, hormones, and a neurotransmitter. But some people do consider serotonin a hormone as well. I was reading online, but who knows? But you have these two very important substances that pretty much regulate your consciousness, and it is believed that the pineal gland is the seat of your soul. It is the cockpit of your consciousness. And in rats, it is also proven, not in humans. I know a lot of people say humans, but it technically is not proven yet. But it is proven that in rats, that there is a dimethyltryptamine within their pineal gland, that it produces such a chemical. So we have these three compounds that play a crucial role on our consciousness that are found within the pineal gland. Melatonin tells us, hey, lights out, let's not spend any more time in this 3D reality. Serotonin pretty much regulates our mood while we are in our waking state. And DMT that sends our consciousness who knows where. Probably the spirit realm. Maybe it's even responsible for our dreams, but a lot of this isn't, of course, scientifically proven. And I'm just saying that because this is a video where I'm trying to be scientific. But I did find this one study that showed in rats that after scientists did a pinealectomy, which is essentially taking the pineal gland out of the brain, that the pineal gland influences the pituitary gland's secretion of sex hormones, the FSH and the LH, which is the follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormone that I talked about earlier. And oddly enough, the pineal gland influences the pituitary gland through an unknown transmitting molecule. That is very fascinating because this is showing that what I believe to be the seat of our soul, and I'm sure what many of you also believe to be the cockpit of our consciousness, as a direct connection to our sexual activity and expression. And I really don't know why there is not a whole lot of studies on the pineal gland in humans. So much about humanity that is clouded in mystery. You look at scientific fields like anthropology and ancient human archaeology, and these fields are scientifically very dogmatic. New ideas are not, well accepted. In fact, they're frowned upon. They don't want the old systems changed for whatever reason that may be. And I would assume that it's the same way with biology and anatomy as well. It's just very hard to change these things. But, in certain cases, like archaeology, for example, there has been a lot of progress being made towards the truth in this realm, thanks to a lot of the certain new findings, like the finding of Göbekli Tepe and the work of Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson. A lot of this is just proving that human civilization, advanced civilization, is much, much older than science, than the history books want to tell us, that it dates back to at least 11,000 years ago. But in my opinion, it is even much, much, much older than that. I think it might even be well over 100,000 years old. But if we're looking at Göbekli Tepe here, this has been dated to around 9,000 BC. That's 11,000 years ago. And that's only carbon dated too. So it could be much, much older than that. And that's what I believe. Because, with Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson's work, they talk a lot about how we're always going through global cataclysms on this planet, whether it be floods or asteroids or pole shifts. And in my belief, this site right here that you're looking at was probably destroyed. Well, it was covered up originally, but it probably took a lot of damage in some sort of cataclysm over the years, and this is the current state it's in. And many people even believe the pyramids to be of the same case, that they are more than just 4,000 years old, probably tens of thousands of years old. But there's not a lot of scientific evidence on this. But with the Sphinx, there is weather dating that is shown to be around 11,000 years old. But a lot of scientists, they don't accept this. They don't want to change their view on history. And it's challenged quite often by actual scientists that are mainstream. But if you look at it, this matches up with the 11,000-year-old Göbekli Tepe, the carbon dating done on that, and the Younger Dryas event that would have happened 11,000 years ago, where there is a mass extinction. And this is believed to be what was the Great Flood that is recorded in the Bible and many other traditions. But I kind of got off topic there, which is kind of trying to compare other fields of science to biology and anatomy, showing how there's just so much mystery behind humanity, our creation, our history. And of course, we do have things like the Adam and Eve story and other Anunnaki creation stories that kind of line up with each other, but I still don't think all those stories have even close to the amount of details about like what really went down back then. But who knows, man? Maybe we will never know in this lifetime. Maybe that is for the next lifetime. But what I do know now is that there is a direct connection between the pineal gland and sexual expression. So just think about what your attention is doing on a physical level, not even a metaphysical level. Physically, your retention, your sexual activity, expression is connected to the physical seat of your consciousness. Just take a minute and think about that. This is physical representation of what is going on in the spiritual. But anyways, guys, that's the video for today. I've been talking for a long ass time now. I'm going to cut the video here. Any questions whatsoever, drop them down below and I will answer them. Drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And as always, y'all have a great day. Peace.